got your attention to tell you is we're going to get started in about 3 or 4 more minutes. Apparently, the press is running just a few minutes behind because, of course, every road south is shut down today. So we're going to get going in 3 or 4 more minutes, and I will just say I am so happy to be here today, and thank you so much for being here. I'm going to keep working the room just to stall, just to be clear about it, and so I'll be back in about 4 minutes. Thank you. Just want to say thank you and welcome to my campaign launch day. Program, I want to just say that I'm not sure Burnsville has ever had 2 rabbis in the room. But I want to acknowledge, first of all, Rabbi Morris Allen, who is where? Please stand. Morris is my dear friend and Rabbi Yvette Jacob here in the 2nd Congressional District. I also want to ask my second rabbi in the room today to give a blessing. This Rabbi, Michael Lass of Chertika, was the man who married my wife and I. He's a dear friend, and thank you, Michael, for coming out.
Thank you. Yay, Michael.
Just to be clear, they married each other, I officiated. I mean, I love you and all, but Proverbs teaches that a good name is more desirable than great riches, a good reputation more desirable than silver and gold. I wish that our current elected leaders spent more time reading this part of the Bible. At least in this district, they spent a little too much time avoiding the public, especially when their national leaders tweet out invective and insults. Shame on them. I am sure glad that Angie Craig is heeding the call for public service. Because Angie knows, and I get to be one of her rabbis, so I know that she knows that having a good name and a good reputation matter. It matters to Angie that she has a good name in the business world. It matters to Angie that she has a good reputation in her civic community. And it matters most to Angie that she has a good name and a good reputation to her family, to her beloved Cheryl and their sons. It matters to Angie because she knows that to have a good name and a good reputation, you have to work really hard. You have to follow through on the commitments you make to people. You have to look them in the eye every day and earn their trust as a neighbor, as a citizen, and as a public leader. We are living in a moment where moral public leaders, especially in the 2nd District, at least those elected to Congress, are tough to find. Lots of folks are heavy on rhetoric but fall short on substance and solutions. Angie Craig isn't running for public office because she believes that we are the problem. No, Angie understands that her duty is to powerfully lift up every voice in the hallowed halls of Congress until all our dreams, our visions, our commitments for a just society echo in the hearts of every member of the People's Congress. Our nation is in a critical moment in our history. Will we protect every American citizen's fundamental right to vote free of foreign influence? Will we protect our rights to health care coverage so our grandparents don't need to decide between paying their rent and taking their medicine? Will we have outstanding public schools that educate our kids, not just for the jobs of the 21st century, but to be outstanding citizens in an increasingly diverse America? Will we join together to care for our lakes and our fish and our planet? Will we work to ensure that everyone who works hard can put food on their table, a roof over their heads, care for their families, and get to work safely? Angie Craig is the kind of remarkable moral leader who will rise to the challenges we face and seek common ground to build a strong, vibrant community and nation. We are indebted to you, Angie, for taking the courageous call to serve the public. May she be blessed in this endeavor. Amen.
Who has served this nation in our military to stand up, please. I'd like to have you give a round of applause. Now, everyone, please stand up. I'd like to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much for being here. So I thought we'd just have a few friends out this afternoon and we'd say, yay, let's go kick off this campaign. I am absolutely stunned at the turnout today, so thank you. I also thought I'd phone up a few folks and ask for their support in advance of the launch. Today represents the first day of our official launch. I filed to run for Congress in the 2nd Congressional District this morning.
Yeah.
So I can go off script if I want to. It's his first day back for the staff, so this is going to be fun. I'm going to start by acknowledging a few endorsements that came in this morning that those folks aren't able to be here today. First of all, U.S. Senator Al Franken endorsed me today. A couple of weeks ago at an event, I leaned over to hug him and he said, repeal and replace Jason Lewis. And secondly, he couldn't be with us today. It's a pretty far drive from the 8th Congressional District, Congressman Rick Nolan. Rick was one of the first calls I got after the election when I wasn't feeling so great. And Rick said to me, Angie, just remember, I lost my first race for Congress in the 1970s. And then he laughed and he said, and hell, Colin lost 3 times before he won. So in those moments, it was great to have Rick right there by my side, and it's great to have him moving into the 2018 election cycle. And then finally, I'm going to mention a guy who we've seen on TV a lot lately. Former acting administrator under the Obama administration for the Center of Medicare and Medicaid Services. Andy couldn't be with us here yet today. He may still be on his way, but I'm proud to have the support of Andy Slavitt as I need. And if anybody else brought a big truck and put it out front, you can go next. But if you didn't, I'm going to take the moderator's order and ask Tom Erickson to come up here and say a few words this afternoon.
I won't take a lot of time. A few years ago, I was lucky enough to meet this fired up lady that wanted to change things. I was born and raised in Shakopee. My 85-year-old father still lives there. I watched this district change over my entirety to something that I was proud of when I was growing up, to something that I became not very proud of as we sit here today. We went through some people that I'm not going to name. They don't deserve to be named as far as I'm concerned. But in the Teamster world, we say it the way it is, okay? I just want to know, and I want to know how hard everybody in this room. We said we were going to fight hard last time, and I don't think we stepped up. And we're going to fight harder this time to make sure she gets put in office where she belongs. In our world right now, there are some things that are unbelievably important. It's retirement, it's Medicaid, it's Medicare, it's health care. Those are things that drive the economy as we sit today. Those are things things that the Democrats fight for every single day. And as Teamsters, Angie, we want you to know, we will be there every single day, and I will put a challenge out to everybody. She has been there on the retirement side, she's been there on the healthcare side, and she's been there when it comes to organizing and the things that make up a great union and give people the right to have a great future, which they all deserve. So I'll close with this. Teamsters Local 120 and all the labor unions out there, I challenge you. We will put more boots on the ground in this election than any other labor organization, and I promise you that.
I got the Teamsters. So now I just want to say that I'm so stunned and humbled to have 4 of our candidates for governor here today to help me kick off this race in Minnesota's 2nd Congressional District. I want to start by asking James to come up. James is the campaign manager for Erin Murphy. Erin Murphy, a couple of days ago, posted on her Facebook page that she is with me all the way and stepped out to endorse me in this race for Congress. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Angie. Thank you, everyone, for the opportunity to say a few words. As Angie mentioned, Erin couldn't be here today. She is at the convention for the American Nurses Association Institute, giving their keynote tonight in Florida in D.C. So I appreciate the opportunity to say a few words on her behalf. One of my jobs on the campaign is to spend a couple minutes with Erin every day, trying to figure out sort of what's the schedule for the day, what's coming up, what does she need to prepare for, questions she has, that kind of thing. And so a few days ago, we got to sit down and talk about this event. What was I going to say on her behalf, when she couldn't be here? And so that became a much longer, more challenging conversation than I had hoped it would be. I thought it would be really simple. She'd say this, 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 and this. But she had a lot to say. She had a lot of stories to tell. She had a lot of just really fantastic things to say about Angie and things that she thought it was worth mentioning. I don't have that much time. So what I asked her to do after a couple minutes was actually to sit down, to write that Facebook post that Angie mentioned. You can read it on her page. You can read it on Angie's page. Other wonderful words from the congressman and others there, and go check them out. I just want to read a couple sentences that she wrote just to share with you now. So these are Erin's words. Angie can beat Jason Lewis, and she will, but that's not why I support her. And Angie can help lead the ticket in CD2 and lift all of us with her, and she definitely will, but that's not why I support her either. It's not just about winning. The quality of who we elect matters. I support Angie because Minnesotans need her voice on their behalf. They need her experience and her passion. I support Angie because we deserve to have somebody like her advocating for our state, and I can't wait to see what she can do. So thank you all very much for the opportunity. Congrats to Angie and her family and her team on a wonderful kickoff, and let's get to work for the next 13 months. Thank you.
All right, from here on out, I think I better go alphabetical order. So it is absolutely my pleasure to welcome Chris Coleman to the stage.
Well, thanks, everyone. I am so glad to be here and announce my support for Angie Craig to be your next congressperson for the 2nd District in the state of Minnesota. It's great to see everybody here on a cold, rainy Sunday afternoon. But, this reminds us that the election for 2018 is not all that far away. It seems like, a year plus, but the reality of it is early voting is less than a year away. And so we've got our work cut out for us as we go forth and across the state of Minnesota to not only win in the 2nd District, not only to take back the House of Representatives, but to make damn sure that we hold on to the governor's office in the state of Minnesota. This morning, as is our tradition, Connie and I got up, not that early because she got back late last night from a trip, but we got up this morning and we went over to Summit Avenue to watch the runners finishing the marathon. And our tradition is we always stand in front of Summit Manor. And for those of you that know Summit Manor, you know that that's the McLaughlins. And Will McLaughlin was one of Paul Wellstone's aides
who perished in the plane crash that tragic day back in October of 2002. But I always remember when I'm standing there that for years the person that stood next to me was Paul Wellstone. Paul Wellstone had more enthusiasm than any of the other people that were watching the race, as you can imagine. Paul Wellstone was just like, you remember that ad where he was, Al Franken did about him, talking about the story where he ran with his son on the cross-country race. And Paul always used to do that. He'd go down Summit Avenue, come on, you can do it, and he'd run down, and he'd come back, and he'd run down again, and he'd be cheering these people on. And if Paul Wellstone were alive today, he'd be all in this room cheering us on, saying, we can do this, we can take this, and we can win these races. And if we believe that we can do that, if we unite, we can make sure that Angie is our next Congresswoman from the 2nd District. The fact of the matter is, the reason I support Angie is because she represents the values that I hold dearest in the state of Minnesota. We watched this last week, and I can tell you as a mayor, I feel the pain of Mayor Cruz in San Juan. To have that disaster that has happened in San Juan. We can't prevent disasters. We have tornadoes, we have earthquakes, we have snowstorms, we have all those things. We can't prevent them. But what we can prevent is the kind of response that we've seen from our president and the disgusting vial that he has put forth. Our communities need the support of not just our federal government, but our state government. Minnesota is not just one entity. Minnesota is a series of 860 communities, large and small, north and south, and east and west. And our state needs to stand up for our communities to make sure that they have the resources that they need to be successful. The fact of the matter is we need to be unrelenting in our progressiveness. We need to be unrelenting in our support for those that need our help the most. Unrelenting in our fight on behalf of poor and working families in the state of Minnesota. And we should be unforgiving of what the Republicans are trying to do to this state and to this nation. When we stand up and we fight, and we hear in our heads the words of Paul Wellstone, keep going, keep fighting, you can do it. That is how we're going to win these races in the coming year. Folks, the stakes are too high. We always say how important every election is, but we know exactly what the Republican agenda is for the state of Minnesota. And that's to make it Wisconsin. It's to make it Iowa. The fact of the matter is when we stand for our progressive values, when we stand on behalf of working families, when we stand on behalf of all in the state of Minnesota, when we stand in the spirit of Paul Wellstone, we elect Angie Craig. We take back some of those House seats, and we hold on to the governor's office. I'm running for governor, but today I'm standing on behalf of Angie Craig. Thank you so much.
Favorite part of Chris, Paul, and Tim are? Really, all three of them. Their wives. Connie, Karen, and Gwen. Just to be absolutely clear about it. If you don't know these women, it's just amazing. So with that, I want to ask Paul to come forward. Thank you so much for being here, Paul.
Well, that was probably the truest thing said today, that I hear all over the state. So thank you for nodding, Karen. And I will say my second favorite woman is here today as well. My mom, Barb Thiessen, who lives in Lakeville, is in the back of the room. So, well, I am thrilled to be here today with all of you. First of all, to see all of you here. I think this is an amazing, amazing sign for what we're going to be able to accomplish in 2018, because being all together, coming together around a great candidate, but more importantly about what she stands for, is what we need to do in the next election. That's how we are going to win. So thank you for being here, for coming out on this kind of day. And I also am thrilled, as everybody else is, that Angie is doing this again. We should have won in 2016. That should have happened. And we can for sure win in 2018, seeing what I'm seeing here today and hearing what I'm hearing all across the state of Minnesota, but particularly in the 2nd District, that people are frustrated with where things are today. People don't like their democracy to be disappearing. And to me, that's the thing that, of all the issues that are out there, healthcare, huge issue, campaign finance reform, making sure that we have debt-free college, all these things are things we need to fight for. But the thing I'm most afraid of is that our democracy is slipping away from us. And if that happens, if people stop believing that we can come together to change things, if people stop believing that we can have the power of the people to actually move our state forward and have a vision and our country forward and have a vision of what that is, we're lost. We're lost as Democrats, but more importantly, we're lost as Americans. And the reason that I think Angie is such an amazing candidate is that she's fighting for all the right things, right? But she understands that what it's about ultimately is raising up all of our voices together and being the representative for all of us. Too often, people forget that that's what the job is when they go to St. Paul or when they go to Washington, D.C. Jason Lewis has certainly forgot that that's what the job is. Isn't that right? Maybe he never knew. That's right. But what we do know is that Angie Craig has done that. She's done it in the private sector, where she has stood up for people and made her company actually move forward together and accomplish some amazing things. You don't do that on your own. You do that working with people. And when she created this campaign over the last several years, that's what she did. She pulled people together. She pulled all of you here today. We need more leaders like that are going to stand up for the right things, but are going to be there as a servant leader. I think what Rabbi Lack said at the very beginning today is exactly right. She stepped up for public service, and she stepped up for the right reason. Now, this governor's race, and I'll dwell on it just a little bit here, is critically important. But I think the same reasons that are the reason I'm supporting Angie Craig and the reasons that she's running are the reasons that we need to win next year. It's not because we need to win as Democrats, right? It's not because we don't want to become Wisconsin. We don't want to become Wisconsin. But that's settling. That kind of ambition to try to not be something else, that's settling. As Democrats and as Minnesotans, we shouldn't be settling. We should be putting out a bold vision of what we can accomplish together. This is an extraordinary state. And comparing ourselves to other places and trying not to be that kind of place, that doesn't inspire anybody. It doesn't inspire me. I'm not running for governor because I don't want us to be Wisconsin. I'm running for governor because Minnesota can be an amazing place, and we can do incredible things together with the right leadership. And the reason I know that is because I've seen it. I've worked with Scott Dibble and Jim Carlson and David Bly and Sandy Mason and all the other amazing representatives that are here today, and Senator Clausen that are here today, to create an energy, to be unified together as a state legislature to accomplish some amazing things. And we can do that again in this state with the right leadership. But what it's going to take is someone that's going to be able to unify this state, someone that's going to be able to come together and say, yes, we can do those things. We can get to Medicare for all in this state. We can get to debt-free college in this state. We can get to a clean environment and a clean energy economy in this state and in this country. And it's going to be leaders like Angie Craig, and it's going to be leaders like all of those great representatives in this room that we need to re-elect again, and it's going to be the next governor of Minnesota that's going to take us there. And so what I'm asking all of you is, let's not settle. Let's not act out of fear. Angie Craig is an incredibly fearless leader. That's why she's going to win this time. We need to be as fearless as she is. We need to say what this is about is a vision for this state that is amazing, that is progressive, that is future-looking. We don't need to be afraid of what we can become. We need to be honest and ambitious about a meaningful future for us together. That's what I hope that we can come together today around. That's why we're going to re-elect Angie Craig. That's why I'm so proud to be here with all of you and to be here with Angie, because she is that kind of leader. And we're going to win in 2018. Thank you so much.
Next up, Congressman Tim Walz.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and as I said, thank you all for coming here. You're here for that very beautiful and eloquent reason. You love your country, and you recognize that electoral politics plays a key role in that. It's a pleasure for me to be here, not as a member of Congress, but as a father of 2 young children, Hope 16 and Gus is 10. The decisions that we make in Congress and the decisions we make in St. Paul are going to resonate for them for their lifetimes. The investments we make in education, the ability to make sure that we're creating a fair and equitable society that reflects those values, those are the decisions that are going to be made. Cheryl, thank you. We were talking earlier, the energy in this room and Angie coming back again. And Cheryl and I said, you know what it feels like? We both looked at each other at the same time and said, yep, first day of school. That's middle school teachers, the idea is you take what happened from the year before, and that last day of school is so sad, those beautiful children you were with the whole year, they're going off to something bigger into the next classroom, and they're becoming little adults and all those things, and then there's the brand new fresh faces and the things you learned, and your passion is renewed, and the energy is back, and what you want to do together is there. And so I'm here as that dad and as that teacher to endorse my friend Angie Craig from the United States. I know a thing or two about putting campaigns together to win seats in the United States Congress. I also have people walk up to me all the time, just like many of you, and they watch what's happening right now in the United States Congress under the leadership or the lack thereof of people like your current representative. People will say to me, Tim, I'm really terrified about the future. My instinct is to just blurt out and say, I work with these people, you should be terrified. I know who they are. But it's not, because it's not who we are. My instinct is to tell them, if you're terrified about the future, the beautiful thing is, let's just change it. Let's just change the future and create the one we want. Let's just put the person in there we know best reflects our values. And I have to tell you, watching a congressional campaign in what was clearly one of the most difficult years in the last 100 years, Democrats are at the lowest point in the United States Congress since 1927. The Republicans have gerrymandered, they have manipulated, they have brought dark money into campaigns, and they have won all across the country. If we are going to realize those dreams and those visions that we want to have, we, all of us, are going to have to get behind, and as you heard Labor say it, put more boots on the ground than we've ever seen, and do what's ever necessary to make sure we flip the seat and make sure we have income. I'll be there. I'll do my best. I'll make sure that we go through every Legion Hall from Sleepy Eye up to International Falls, that we're in every Union Hall, we're in every school. It's not the message. Yes, this is the choir, and the choir needs to sing loudly, but we need to make the case to those 62 million Americans who somehow thought this monstrosity in the White House was going to be better for them, was going to improve their lives. And that falls upon us, and I've watched this voice, and I'll tell you this, I have seen fantastic candidates. It is an amazing skill set to be a candidate for the United States Congress. It takes hard work, it takes perseverance, it takes all of those things. It takes raising money, it takes door knocking. It takes having a spouse that is absolutely, as Angie said, spectacular. Absolutely spectacular to make sure you can do it. But that is the means to the end. The end is finding someone who is so unique that possesses not only the qualities to run a successful and winning campaign, but someone who can govern. And I tell you what, over the last couple years, and there was one instance that I knew we had somebody special. Angie and I got together and did a veterans roundtable. She asked those veterans to stand up for a reason. She has spent a career promoting veterans and veterans care in business and through the things she does in nonprofits. I've watched that. But she did something remarkable. Those veterans in here know this, and these elected officials who are in here know this. When you convene a veterans roundtable, get strapped up and ready to go. Because these things are deep, and they are emotional, and people's lives are on the line. And they can become incredibly life-changing events just at that table. And to do one of these, the first thing you better do is bring an authenticity, because those veterans will see right through you. You can't swing a stick without hitting someone running for office who wants to stand in front of veterans. But veterans will tell you this, I don't give a damn about them standing in front of me. Are they standing behind me? Are they there when we need it? And I watch Angie Craig manage with a deftness that I have not seen of members of Congress who have been there for decades, manage with an insight into the issues that was deep, a compassion that was real, an intellect that was sharp and quick, all with the idea, how am I going to make this job as a member of Congress impact your life in a positive way for the service you gave this country? I know she's going to do that for my children. I know she's going to do that for your children, for veterans, for our parents, for all of those things that we know we care deeply about. So I'm here to say you have got an opportunity to not only win a congressional seat, not only help flip this seat over, but to put someone who all of us can trust is exactly the type of person who should be in the United States Congress. So with that, let's all pledge here today, we are going to work ourselves to death to make sure that we can say, and it's a proud moment for me, I love calling this woman my friend, but I have to be totally honest with you, I want to call my friend Congresswoman. Let's go do it.
Well, my name is Cheryl Green, and that was Angie's first endorsement, hopefully most important endorsement, and her biggest supporter. And I can say that I know her better than anyone else. And I had some things written down here, but after hearing everybody else, I'm just going to say that I know her better than anyone else, and all those things are true about her. She truly does care about making lives better for people. That's what she's about, and always has been. I've spent over 20 years as an educator, and so I can tell you that education will be a priority with Angie. It better be. She's married to a teacher. So I'm really proud to introduce Angie's announcement video so that you can get to know a little more about the Angie that I know and that I love. So enjoy.
Mobile home park. We didn't always have health insurance. When my little sister got sick, those bills piled up. I still remember the box my mom put them in. I worked my way through state college, any job I could get, the local mall, McDonald's, the college newspaper. I started a family and had to fight like hell for the right to adopt my son Joshua. We chose Minnesota as our home because of its openness, no matter who you are, where you're from, or who you love. I worked my way up a Minnesota medical manufacturing company and led its efforts to hire more veterans. My wife Cheryl and I are raising 4 sons. We know how lucky we've been. I'm Angie Craig, and I'm running for Congress because too many Minnesota families are falling behind and don't have the same kind of chances I've had. I'm running against Jason Lewis. We know his words are offensive, but his actions in Washington have been even worse, like his votes to dramatically increase the cost of insurance and kick millions off health care. I know what it's like to grow up for part of my childhood without it, and I'll never quit fighting until we fix health care. And every family in this country has health care they can afford. All my life, I've had to fight. And together we can and will fight to take our country back. We can build an economy that works for everyone. We can make college more affordable and make sure everyone gets the skills they need to build a good career. We can break the stranglehold of big money so that Washington works for people again. We can rein in Wall Street, protect the rights of women, and fight climate change. In America, we've always pushed forward. We keep fighting to make a more perfect union. Sometimes we lose, but when we persist, we make lasting change. Let's build a Minnesota for all of us. Together, I know.
Together again. You think we can find 2% more this time? I just want to say thank you so much to Tim, to Paul, to Aaron, and to Chris today for coming out and endorsing my campaign for Congress. I am absolutely grateful to you. Thank you. And Cheryl, thank you. And Josh and Jacob and Jonas and Isaac, That's all we have, just 4. For your endorsement and your support to go for this seat and serve this district one more time. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Now, this campaign is not about me. It's really about all of you in this room today. And I hope you know that and hear that in my words today. But it's also about having really good people around you as you run a campaign. And so today, I want to take a moment just to acknowledge 3 of the senior leaders that will be helping me win this seat in 2018. The first one I'd like to acknowledge is Alana Peterson. Alana will serve as my campaign advisor for the 2018 election cycle. The second I'd like to acknowledge today is Chris Cluthy. Chris will manage he'll be my finance director and my campaign director here in the early months of the campaign. And obviously, Chris, you are incredible to come back and do this one more time, so thank you. Thank you. And then I actually didn't check with her or her boss this morning, but I'm going to say it anyway. I want to introduce Emily Weber in the back of the room. Emily is currently managing Melvin Carter's campaign for mayor of St. Paul, and he will not be leaving Melvin, so let's not let that rumor come out. She will be coming to work with us after that election is over. So one of the best campaign teams. I got the A-list in politics, let me tell you. Thank you, guys. Now, I'm thrilled to be back here today. Our 3 boys who were in college asked if they could come today, and I told them to get their ass to class. So they won't be joining us here today. You got a glimpse at them in the campaign video. This is a really emotional day for me. Not only to hear the things that the folks here to endorse me have said, but also just because it's the culmination of the work that I've been doing over the last 3 months around this congressional district. I've been crisscrossing the district and doing something perhaps unique in politics, mostly listening. Mostly listening, just listening. And what I'm hearing is that for many of our neighbors, it's still tough out there. I know what that's like firsthand. As you saw, I grew up in a mobile home park with a lot of love. That mobile home park to us was affordable housing. That's what it is to most people. We've had some financial struggles, but oh, so incredibly much love. And I want to tell you today because I know that my mom is watching. There were times when our family went without health insurance during my childhood. So there is no one who understands more that if health care in this country is not affordable, it is not accessible. And I will work every single day to make sure that we are on a path to every family in this country having health care. But that's not the end of my story. There was also hope. My mom pushed forward. My mom was in community colleges and junior colleges for almost 10 years throughout my childhood. What an incredible example our mothers and fathers make. What a difference it makes, not just in their lives, but in their children's lives to see them go through that struggle. And so I'm going to look into the camera in front of me right now, Mom. And I'm going to say thank you. Thank you. Thank you for everything you gave to our family, and thank you for changing the lives of all of us. Thank you. I know how incredibly lucky I've been to get to college, to become a journalist, to live in a time when my own family and marriage can be recognized. You know how many generations before me could not say that. I know how lucky I've been. We all know that there is so much more work to do. To live in a time where women have made so many gains in this nation. So many gains, but there's so much more work to do. You know, the best way to show young women that we're for women's equality is to show young girls like Lindy. Lindy's going to give me a stark look right now, but stand up, Lindy. Stand up, Lindy. The best way to show young girls like Lindy that we're serious about this is to let more women up and down the ballot all over this country. Now, since joining Congress, we know Jason Lewis has been a puppet to the Republican administration and to the president. Jason Lewis currently has a 95% voting record consistent with President Trump. Now, if you agree with the president, 95% of the time, you're either not watching or you're not watching Twitter. But either way, it's just embarrassing, and that's not leadership. It's absolutely no wonder that Jason Lewis won't come out and have a public meeting with you. Jason doesn't want to hear what's happening in your life. He doesn't want to hear it. He doesn't want to hear what's happening in our district and in our lives. He doesn't want to hear about the work that has to be done. He doesn't want to understand the politics of the people. And the politics of the people are what's happening in their lives every single day. Too many Minnesotans are falling behind. Like Teresa. As I was out just listening throughout the district, I met Teresa. Teresa sometimes has to choose between her groceries and her prescription medication. Teresa has experienced the Open Arms. Open Arms is an Egan-based food pantry which helps people in need. Teresa shouldn't have to need food or prescription drugs. We have got to fight the high cost of prescription drugs in this country. We got to do it. And I just want to say to each of you, thank you so much who brought canned goods today to help people in our own communities in need. And let's not forget about Puerto Rico. Let's not forget about the U.S. Virgin Islands. Let's not forget about what it means to be with each other in community, because that is what America should be about, and that's what we're going to make it about again. Wherever you are, I'm here to tell you that I'm ready to fight for health care. You better bet I'm ready to fight for health care in this country. Jason has already voted to increase premiums, kick millions of Americans off their health care. All, if you really boil it down, to give a little bit of tax cut to the ultra-wealthy. Let me tell you, we need tax reform in this country, but not for the ultra-wealthy. To me, in this election cycle is to say to you this. Not just talk about it, but to show it to you. What politics is really about is real people's lives. It's about real people's lives. Politics is about my friend Hunter. Hunter, I know you're in the room today. Stand up. Hunter is a young man who's battling cancer right now. He's my friend. He's a district leader. He's an amazing, amazing kid who's about to become an adult way too early. And he's about to do amazing things. Just wait. This is my preamble to his newsletter. This kid is going to do amazing things. This man is facing down cancer. At the same time, congressional Republicans want to take away pre-existing protections in this nation. Hunter, as long as I'm standing, and as long as I'm alive, they will never take health care away from me. We can't go back to that time in this country. That's why we must push forward to universal health care. We must. I'm ready to fight for public education, more affordable college and career training. It's time for teachers to get a raise in this country. Of mine and a great supporter of ours stand up to me and say, Angie, I know you're talking about education. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Here's what I'm going to do about it. We talk about tax reform. Here's something I agree with Jason Lewis on. Wait for it. Half of it anyway. We're going to close the special interest loophole that allows hedge fund managers to take home billions of dollars without paying taxes on it. We're going to close that loophole. And when Jason Lewis suggested this the other day, guess what they're going to do with it? They're going to give it to the wealthy, the ultra-wealthy. They're going to put a $2 trillion with a T deficit additionally on the backs of Americans. You know what I'm going to do with that tax change? I'm going to send it back to the states. $16 billion and tell them, recruit, hire, and retain our teachers. Well, I've said before, I've got 3 sons in college. 2 of them, yeah, they think they probably ought to be there. One of them's having some second thoughts. He wonders if a technical degree or education isn't more for him. And absolutely it may be. And every child in this country, every young person in this country should have as a first choice an apprenticeship, a technical education. We've got to stop selling the lie that college is for every kid in America. Educational choices are a huge part of what's required inside our high schools. And by the way, when we do this, we're going to create more manufacturing jobs in America because this workforce is going to be higher skilled for the manufacturing jobs of tomorrow. I spent over 12 years in a medical manufacturing company. I know what it's like to have high-tech manufacturing. We've got to make sure that we can train and we can retrain based on the jobs that are available in a region at all times, and that's my commitment. With that, I will tell you this. Part of the platform we rolled out today on angiecraig.com will talk about 2 years. 2 years post-secondary. 2 years. You either get your associate's degree at a state college, a good state college like I went to, or a community college, or you get a technical certificate to do the jobs of the future. And guess what? The Buffett rule pays for it. The Buffett rule pays for it. We've got to think beyond high school and college. We've got to hit that sweet middle ground in the future. And let me just be real clear about companies and corporate America. I think we absolutely should have no tax credit for anything other than creating an American job in this country. American job. Now, I'm on the board of Inver Hills Community College Foundation, and it's a newfound board position some months ago after the election. It was the one thing I really wanted to do because so many of the kids at this particular college are not kids. They're adult learners, too, who are balancing families, often single families. And through that work at Inver Hills, I've had the privilege to meet a gentleman by the name of Dave Zelm. And I hope that he'll agree to come out with me and do some things in the future because this man is amazing. This man was in the Pentagon when the flight came down on that terrible September morning. Dave was there and he helped pull folks from the rubble for the 2 days afterward. Dave was in the Air Force and he served this nation valiantly from 2000 to 2006. Dave today is a single dad of 3 beautiful children, and he is working on completing his degree at Inver Hills Community College. And there's so much wrapped up in Dave's story, so much wrapped up. What our veterans deserve when they're in combat, what they deserve when they get home, both medical care and treatment for mental health issues, They deserve an opportunity to get a college degree when they come back, and our support and commitment to stand behind them in that effort. And I hope you get to meet Dave, because he is a true, true American hero. Look, this campaign is really about making sure that we do the things that our values make us believe in. It's about fighting for good paying jobs, protecting Social Security and Medicare. I filled more manufacturing jobs over 20 years than most members of Congress will ever fill in their lifetime. I believe that kind of experience. I believe growing up for portions of your childhood without health insurance and spending 20 years understanding the current healthcare system and how inadequate it is for so many families puts me in a terrific position to advocate for health care and a path to health care for all families. I understand that we have to find new ways to create economic growth, and we absolutely have to make sure that labor is treated fairly. We have to make sure that family farms in greater Minnesota are heard, and we have to talk less and do more to make sure the F and the L are at the forefront of the DFL. We live here. We live here, number one. I live in Eagan. My son, my youngest, goes to high school in Rosemount. We go to church in Apple Valley. I work out when I do in Burnsville. It should happen more. We know what happens in this congressional district because we live here. Now, Jason Lewis could write to his Congresswoman Betty McCollum, since he doesn't live here. But we have to remind people that this is our community. This is our community. We live here. We're ready to take on climate change. We're ready to fight for family farmers. I'm ready to support those infrastructure investments, those elusive infrastructure investments that some talked about during their campaign. And I'm ready to support small business and innovation. This is our community, and we have to take it back. And I sure as hell am ready to take on anyone who fights back on the right to organize and collectively bargain in this country. This isn't about politics, guys. This is about real life. And in listening to you over the last few months, what I've heard is that some of you have been victims of domestic violence, even sitting in this room today. Many of you have had health challenges that you're still facing or that you're just past. Some of you have student loan debts that are more, combined student loan debts that are more than most people's mortgages. Many of you are paying way too much in the individual marketplace, and we have to repair and fix healthcare in this country once and for all. Some of your children have addiction issues or mental health issues. Some of you are struggling or struggle to find work. We've all had to fight. There's not one person in this room today who hasn't had to fight. And members of my community, I'm here today to tell you that I've had to fight too, and I'm ready to fight again. Because sometimes we lose, but we get up for the next round. We keep pressing forward with a commitment for liberty and justice for all. Those are the key words, for all. Most of my life I've had to fight. And I'm used to fighting, and I'm going to fight a little bit longer. So I ask you again in closing, are you ready to find that last 2%? Together, I know we can. Thank you. the endorsements aren't over. It has been just an absolute stunning last few weeks as the number of organizations come forward to say they want to stand with me on day one of this campaign. So it turned into a little gathering into a whole program, and I decided what the heck, I'd moderate it myself. So let me just tell you why labor is so important to me. As I tell you my personal story, the other part of that is that I had a grandmother who moved 3 mobile homes down from my mother to help take care of us, really to take care of each other in life. And my grandmother dipped shoe heels in glue in a shoe factory for 8 hours a day, every single day, and came home with glue all over her every day. That's what I remember most about my grandmother. And on 2 occasions for my grandmother, that union rep walked into the office and helped save her job. See, my grandmother had to work until her early 70s. She couldn't retire. She couldn't retire because she needed the income. And there are too many members of our community who are not able to retire at an age they should. So for me, this next portion is incredibly important, and I want to use it to also honor my grandmother, who was just a mentor and inspiration to me. So first of all, and I'm not exactly sure who all's here. I know I had the Teamsters go first, so Tom had to get out of here. Let me just say to you that I don't talk about my dad nearly as much as I probably should in these meetings. My dad came back into my life years later, and I have to tell you, he is a very dear friend of mine and a wonderful grandfather to my kids. And that idea of reconciling, of forgiving, is very important to me. And I mention my dad because my dad is 66 years old, and he still sells Fords every single day of his life. And I want to ask John from the United Auto Workers to come up here for just a second.
I want to start the chant. UAW, UAW, UAW. I'm John from the UAW. Yeah. I grew up in CD2. I live in the 8th district now. I made the trip down. I couldn't pick Rick up. I work in CD3. We strongly endorsed Age Craig last year for last cycle, this cycle too, just for commitment to labor, for strong support for veterans, part of the UAW Minnesota Veterans Committee. So I know Tim, you said it all. I was just there. I don't know what else to say. He said it all.
Just want to announce that today the United Communications Workers of America Minnesota State Council have endorsed Barry, can I get you to come up here? This is not his favorite thing in the world, I bet. It's kind of like Teamsters. I just want to go, iron workers.
Chant's not as easy as you
As Angie said, this isn't my favorite thing to do, but I'm an iron worker, not a politician, but I think it's important that we all get behind Angie. She stands for what we stand for. Healthcare, jobs, infrastructure, strong middle class. We were glad to be behind her in 16. A little more help this time and we'll get it done. I moved to CD2, so. Yeah. We're honored to give it to her.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had to make the list because the list got so dang long this last week. So how about the steel workers?
Yeah.
The United Steel Workers. Yeah.
this with a lot of love. We may not have brought the truck, but we brought the very first labor endorsement in 2016 for Angie Craig. Behind you. We're happy to be there because we know she has the integrity and the courage to fight for working families. She is somebody who centers justice and equity in everything that she does. And the steel workers will come out strong and enforced because we are fired up and ready to win with Angie Craig.
It's like ghastly labor organization as you're walking in. It's so cool.
Pardon me?
Painters.
I'm here to bring greetings and support on behalf of our business manager and secretary treasurer, Terry Nelson, and the members of the painters and allied trades here in Minnesota. All of organized labor is based on one principle, and it stems from the Constitution of the United States, this great country we live in, and that is human dignity. It's a concept that runs all the way from 1776, and is part of every collectively bargaining agreement, is a part of every grievance brought before an employer, between an employer and an employee. And we know that Angie Craig understands that concept, and we're proud, happy, and excited to stand with all of you, and especially to stand with you.
Do we have any machinists in the room today? Well, I will just say thank you then. They've got their state convention actually this weekend, right, in Mankato. Tim, I think you might have been there today. Yep, this morning. And so I just want to announce that the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers have endorsed you. And then finally, I'm going to invite one more representative from labor up here to say a few words. This gentleman was instrumental in 2016 in helping us win Dakota County, by the way, in 2016. Bobby Casper.
When I first met Angie, I kind of blew her off once or twice. I had a couple meetings, and I'm so scattered. Getting married 3 years ago, that it was really tough to get meetings together. But I'll tell you what. You ever hear somebody when they tell their story, and those things make you goosebumps in the back of the neck? She pulled me right out of the water. She hit me in the heart. I thought I was loud enough, but I'll say it again. When I first met Angie, you ever out there, you hear somebody say this story, and they tell about their personal story, and you get those goosebumps in the back of your neck, and you get so good inside, you feel so good inside, and you feel so proud to be an American, that you say there is hope, and there are people out there that really care about this country. Well, she's one of them. Too much for too long, we talk about how good we are and how great we are, and not really tell our personal stories. Our crazy kid that came from New York who got sober in Minnesota. And she tells us a personal story, raised in a trailer, poverty, came through the ranks. Your mother raised you, my mother raised me. I got 4 brothers, 5 boys. The strongest person I know is my mother. Angie, you're second. In case you don't know who I am or what I do, I'm an AFL-CIO regional president. I represent an area of the state that we're extremely proud of because we believe in the urban areas. We consider Dakota urban, but I lived in Eagan for a number of years, and I knew and see more possibilities, and I use the analogy, apples on the tree. There were plenty of apples on the tree. There are many of people since 2012 we changed their lives. Senators and House representatives that have not just flipped seats, but held on to their seats. Right, Sandra? Right, Jim? Right, Greg? Right, Julie? Greg Clausen, you haven't had a Democrat since 1961 down there in Rosemont. But it's about this. It's about our heart, our personal story, and about bread and butter issues. The gubernatorial candidates talked about that. It's about our schools, our teachers. It's about health care. It's about our way of life. When I came out here, I was amazed how people live. And it's gone the other way. I am going to promise you this, that in Dakota County, which is one of the biggest parts of CV2, we're not only going to deliver the knockout punch like we did and more, we're going to try to shore up, not against the CV2 group, but we're going to try to help on the other side too. We mean business. We are going to try, and I'm trying to help her with the other areas, okay? There's hope in changing lots of these areas. Aaron we picked up 2 more seats, Matt Little and Aaron. Take this back, but you have to get out on what? The doors. The ground game wins it, and you need to commit and get out there. Commit. Don't tell me you got all these other issues, you got a football game, I got to go. It is our livelihood. She tapped almost everything that we are looking at. Our way of life. Bringing industry back in these states. They blame us for raising taxes. They outsource all the jobs. It's about getting the message out, being prepared. Angie, I don't only think you use a political friend. You're like a sister I'm going to have. Take it up.
Because I was that kind of big sister.
My younger sister.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I also want to acknowledge Dave had to leave, but the locomotive engineers have also endorsed today. So one more. They're part of the same, so I wanted to call them out separately. So in addition to all of that, today also, the following organizations are announcing their support for Angie Craig for Congress. The Human Rights Campaign, the Equality PAC of the U.S. Congress, the New Democrats put me on their watch list, and the League of Conservation Voters. I'm a little disappointed, but I'm so glad to have his support. He was coming here today and got held up a little bit, but also today, David Wellstone is announcing that he is endorsing and supporting my campaign. And David is going to help me win this congressional seat. He and I are so in tune on issues like affordable housing and mental health and the work that he's carrying on, obviously, in memory of his father, Paul Wellstone. So I'm so pleased to have David's support here first out. Now, to get us going just a little bit, because I know we promised a couple of questions at least before we get to it, I want to ask the following folks to come up here. Just we'll try to go a little bit faster. Could I have Susie Bates, please? As my campaign manager from 2016, but she's got a little bit different of a job in 2018, and she's here to make an announcement of that.
Thank you. Awesome. Hi, everyone. So I am here, I'm so thrilled to be here to support Angie, but I'm also here on behalf of CFL House Minority Leader Melissa Portman. So she apologizes that she can't be here, but she not only is supporting Angie because we need Angie in Congress for so many reasons that were laid out here today, but we know that the path to the majority in the Minnesota House of Representatives comes through CD2. So we really look forward to partnering with Angie to support her, send her to Congress, but also to make sure that we have a Democratic House in 2018.
Sorry, not sorry.
That's right. Sorry, not sorry.
That's right. Next, Lori Halverson couldn't be here today, unfortunately, but she has announced today that she is endorsing my campaign for Congress here in a second. And I really just want to, let's just do this. If you're in the room and I call your name, name come up here. Sandy Mason, David Bly, Erin McClain sends her regrets this morning. This afternoon, she too is traveling. I don't think Rick Hansen could make it this morning, but if he's here, Jim Carlson, Matt Klein. I'm not sure Matt could make it, but I saw Matt at the craft house last night. So now you know what I was doing the night before. Greg Clausen and Danny Schoen, if he's here. So the reason I'm calling everybody up here is because, did I miss any senators or representatives in the 2nd Congressional District? I know Scott's coming. Any? Cool. Because also we've got Senator Scott Dibble here today. Woo! State reps and state representatives coming to the front of the room. And then I'd like to ask if you are running for State House or Senate in this congressional district, I'd like for you also to make your way up front, please. Who are putting themselves out there to run in the 2018 election cycle in this congressional district. Then I want to ask the elected officials, because if you're an elected official, my feeling is you got a right to speak no matter where you are or where you go. So anything you guys want to say is just fine. So we've got Jeff Dittburner right down here. And we've got Marla Bott right there. Sure if it was still a secret, but Hunter Cantrell is running for the House. And then we just kicked off last weekend the campaign for John Eisner. I'll turn it over to Sandy, and you guys can fight on who goes first and last. Good afternoon. It is so great to see all of you here. I remember a few years ago, a friend of mine was saying that there was a woman moving to Eagan in my district that was really very, very special. And obviously from all that you've heard about Angie, she truly is a very special person, and we are so very fortunate to have her as a candidate for Congress. Still can't get over last November, but I think all of us are pretty sure that there was not an improvement after November 8th last year at the national level. So I am so looking forward to have someone like Angie at the national level. I just want to give you my perspective from the House. And again, the Republicans have the majority in the House of Representatives. The bills that I saw coming through this year were awful, folks, just awful. And I couldn't imagine a Minnesota if all of those bills had passed. We are very, very fortunate that we have Mark Dayton as governor and was able to at least make some difference in some of those bills. So again, just for the people, we've got some great candidates running for governor. It is so important to hang on to that. But even more, I would like to see a DFL majority in the House so we can actually get some positive work done. And then I just want to add one thing. I just came back from a conference on the Great Lakes. It dealt with all the states and the Canadian provinces that are involved with that have an interest in the Great Lakes. And folks, it's our president, it's our Congress now that we have to really fight hard to protect the Great Lakes, whether it has to do with ballasts, whether it has to do with the carps, whatever. I mean, the Great Lakes is incredibly important to the economy of our state. And we need somebody in Washington that truly understands that and that is going to fight for the things that makes our life so important and gives us the economy that we need going forward. There are so many issues. That's just one that doesn't get on the table very often. But obviously the medical issue
is the top for most people in my district. Thank you again, and really appreciate your support.
Thank you, Sandy. You know, we've heard an awful lot of good things about Angie today, and I don't know if I can think of a lot more. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to ask each and every one of you to think about, why are you supporting Angie? How does she click with you? What just brought you here? What is bringing you to work for her in the next election? And then I want to share with you what I think. I think she is so intelligent. I think she is so savvy. I think she is so experienced. And I think she is so organized. Now, I want to say, why do I say that? Why do I pick those terms? Well, I want somebody intelligent in Congress. I don't know if you remember, Tim Robbins once was on one of the talk shows and said, why can't we just elect somebody who's smart? And I remembered that, and that's one of the things that I think is very important, that we get people in there who are smart. Now, smart also works with experience. What's our biggest issue right now? Healthcare. Who has the experience in healthcare? Angie Craig. Now, we have some issues that we're working through. Medicare for all, okay, and single payer. They're not the same. And also the other systems that are in other countries that we call single payer, we call them, healthcare for all. They're not all the same. And we need somebody as intelligent and experienced and savvy as Angie to dig through all of those details. And we know that even the president himself said, I didn't know it was this complicated. So we need somebody who can look into this. For instance, Medicare, we know that we have Part A, B, D, F, or whatever, all of those numbers. And you don't want to have Part D the same, because that's the one where we don't negotiate drug prices. Remember that? We don't want to have Medicare Advantage, which is one of the most expensive systems to administer Medicare. We don't want to have the supplementals that you have to buy because Medicare doesn't cover enough. So there's a lot of things that are going to require some people that are really savvy, really smart, and they're going to have to negotiate and work through them. Another one is the device tax. And we know that Angie has worked right on the ground with devices. And there's two sides to evaluate there. It's whether the ACA is becoming a marketing arm for device manufacturers because they cover them. And is that something that the device manufacturers maybe should kick in a little bit? We can work through that if we have intelligent people in Congress. So I want to make sure that I endorse Angie for the right reasons. Another one that maybe I should mention before I go here is foreign policy. Angie worked outside of the U.S. She knows what foreign companies do differently than we do. She knows this from her experience, from her savvy. So I want to put all of my effort behind getting somebody smart, savvy, organized into Congress so that I can call this person Congresswoman Craig. Thank you.
Just a little time management here because we advertised 4 o'clock. Maybe we'll keep our remarks to 1 minute moving forward. I didn't say that. Thank you.
You had 2 before you
I just want to say a great kickoff, very impressive. I really loved your speech. Now it falls to us. Go, fight, win!
Well, it's a real privilege to be here this afternoon in support of Angie. And Rabbi Latz did a wonderful job of sharing with us who is Angie Craig and what does she stand for and what are her values. and it brought back a interview with Jason Lewis that I heard when he was running. And the moderator was challenging him on some of his comments that he made over the airwaves as, with this talk show. And he said, well, sometimes I have to say that to be provocative. I don't necessarily believe that, but I have to say those things. And I was thinking, what does this man stand for? What are his values? Is he pandering to interest groups? We know who Angie is. We know what she stands for. She stands for education. She stands to lift up the people here. She stands for opportunity. All I've seen from Jason Lewis is special interest groups. And we need to stop that. And that's why I support Angie.
Before we ask our last elected to speak on my behalf, which is better, I just want to acknowledge a couple of other folks here. So former CD2 Senator Kevin Dahl, I don't think Kevin's here with us today, but he has endorsed me in this race, which is fantastic. Former Senator Matt Smith is endorsing me today. And Will, I saw you, the former state representative, Will Morgan, a teacher and an amazing guy. Will was definitely here. And then finally, I want to ask you to acknowledge somebody in the room who's here who I think is pretty damn brave. There's a guy in the room named Gary Huska. Gary, why don't you stand up? I know this is a little weird. Do you remember that ad at the end of the campaign last cycle that said, I'm a Republican, but this year I just can't support Jason Lewis? That was Gary. To stand up when they see wrong. Now, Gary is in a school board re-election battle for District 196. And I just want you to remember that Gary it's a bipartisan position, but Gary stepped out and gave his partisan beliefs on behalf of what he saw as what was right in this country. So when you get to the ballot, take a look at Gary Huska this year. Finally, I want to ask my good friend Scott Dibble to make the last remarks, unless I've forgotten anybody. Is there any other labor organization who'd like to endorse me today? Is there any other elected official who'd like to endorse me today? All right, well, I can't be greedy, so Scott, take the floor.
Thank you. People may think they know why I'm here, but the truth of the matter is that I'm a South Metro guy. These are my old stomping grounds. I graduated from Apple Valley a number of years ago, and there were still cornfields all around Apple Valley High School. So that's why I'm here, because I know that this district is blue because people's essential values are about doing well by each other, about making sure that we all share in each other's prosperity and each other's success. We're all invested in that. I know a little bit a thing or two about the politics as personal. The real reason I'm supporting Angie Craig actually is because of her amazing wife, Cheryl, who works hard every single day on the kids. And the way seriously, they're an amazing family, and they just show themselves, and their hearts are so open. And my husband and I have become such good friends with them. And when you bring that authenticity and you bring it to public life and you bring it to movement building, and it's about this election, but it's about inspiring young people, and it's about connecting heart to heart and translating that into outstanding policy. It's the Wellstone Triangle. You got great ideas, you got great mobilization, you got amazing candidates to lead us to great outcomes. That's Angie Craig. She will be a remarkable member of Congress. She'll have a seat at the table on behalf of so many of us. I'm excited to be a part of not what is a campaign and a candidacy, but a movement. Thank you, Angie.
Thank you so much for coming today. Thank you for sharing in this campaign kickoff. Now go sign up and let's get to work. Thank you.